Welcome to the Reddit library. Today we'll be looking at r/AskReddit, where the user Shivas877 asked the question, which conspiracy theory is so believable that it might be true? That your phone's microphone is constantly hot, and it's listening for keywords to target advertising. Most glaring instance where this happened to me was when I walked into a colleague's office. He had just gotten a standing desk, but one that goes on top of his existing desk rather than a standalone. Pun? Model. That's important to note. I said, "Nice standing desk. When did you get that?" "Thanks, just today," he replied. That was literally all that was said about the desk. We talked about work-related stuff, and as I walked out and checked my phone, there was an ad on Facebook for the exact model of standing desk. I never owned one, wanted one, or Googled one before, yet there it was on my feed. Tinfoil happy damned, they listen in. I've had this happen to me twice in the last month. Things I talked about with my daughter, one being hard-boiled eggs, showed up on my feed hours later. There it was, an ad for a hard-boiled egg cooker. Never Googled anything about hard-boiled eggs. Weird AF. I can't remember the first one. When I said something to my daughter about it after the first time, she called me crazy. When I showed her the egg thing, she said, "Well damn, you might be right." This isn't even a conspiracy theory. Stay on top of your app permissions, especially for Google services and apps. Background stuff especially. That Natasha Jate was murdered by the Catholic Church for exposing a pedophile ring. This is trending on r/conspiracy and r/out-of-the-loop right now. Credit to user UFT8 for the summary. Natasha Jate, a model TV journalist, exposed a pedophile ring on live Argentinian TV a few months ago, after following cases over the last few years. She had claimed that she would not commit suicide in April of 2018 while investigating these rings, but was found on February 23, 2019 to be dead from suicide. Another journalist she had accused of pedophilia on the airing, Luis Ventura, had uploaded an image of her dead body shortly after she killed herself on Twitter, and then promptly deleted it afterwards. To quote user Happy Cake Day 1, she supposedly died from a cocaine overdose, heart failure, stroke. To quote Happy Cake Day 1, she supposedly died from a cocaine overdose, heart failure, stroke. She had said that if she wound up dead, the people she had accused of wrote she was on trial and it was powerful people, would be guilty. "I won't kill myself, I won't overdose and drown in a bathtub, I won't shoot myself." If she had actually said all of that on the record, then yeah, she was most likely murdered. Of course, that doesn't mean it was someone linked to the Catholic Church, and it also could have possibly been a coincidence with timing, but I don't know. Full credit to user The Next Village for this one. The arms on Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons are backwards. They ought to be rotated 180 degrees. What good are these stubby little arms for? We have found out relatively recently that T-Rex have feathers. It is now an established fact. T-Rex were not covered in scales, but in feathers, like a bird. Take the arms on a T-Rex and flip them around 180 degrees. Now you have wings like an ostrich. Here's an illustration of an ostrich skeleton. See the small arms? Wings. Now look at a Tyrannosaurus. We used to think of almost all dinosaurs as lizard-like. In fact, the name means terrible lizard. Now we know that many different animals that we think of as dinosaurs are more bird-like than lizard-like. XKCD comic below illustrates this nicely. Tyrannosaurus Rex had wings, not big wings to fly with, but wings that were perhaps something like that of an ostrich, cassowary, or emu, although likely much smaller in proportion to their body. Ostriches use their wings in mating rituals to make themselves appear larger, and to signal and communicate. Perhaps T-Rex used their arms for some similar purpose. They did not have useless stubby little arms. This just blew my mind. I hope this catches steam. My conspiracy theory. Facebook purposely attempts to ruin people's relationships because the drama gets more views and more views sell more ads. Several years ago, they introduced a feature so that your comments on other pages would show up in your friends' feeds. So if you're secretly an atheist and you comment on some atheist page, it shows up in your devout Southern Baptist Grandma Muriel's timeline, even though it's a conversation that has nothing to do with her and there's no reason for it to be. As a result, Facebook outs you to your family, and Grandma is typing away at all the evil Satanists trying to corrupt her grandson. And if you comment on a public post, it's unavoidable. You used to be able to control who could see your comments even on public posts by other pages, but at the same time Facebook introduced their tattletale feature, they took that ability away. Now if they were to stumble across the same page, they'd be able to see your comment, but after that change, Facebook started pointing everybody you know directly to it. Not to mention, the privacy settings are difficult to find, difficult to understand, and with each passing year it gives you less and less control over who sees what. By forcibly combining everybody's social circles, Facebook is trying to generate conflict. They want to generate conflict because the conflict happens on Facebook, which means people logging on to Facebook more often and seeing more ads. They're essentially an internet tabloid, except instead of showcasing the personal drama of celebrities for clicks and sales, they're doing it to you instead. Ever notice how the vast majority of family drama, relationship fights, etc. these days happen on Facebook? That's by design. Facebook is literally destroying the social fabric to make a buck, consuming relationship stability like it's an oil refinery consuming crude. That's why you hide your real opinions on Facebook and share them on Reddit instead. Wink. All rocks are soft until you go to touch them. Sounds like my... Never mind. That there are hundreds of companies that operate tens of thousands of Reddit accounts each. They have been auto-regging these accounts for years, use scripts to auto-post and comments, and have humans that shift through all the accounts to make various comments to maintain these accounts. These companies have the ability to control and game their way to the front of Reddit. Huge brands use them, special interest groups use them, political parties use them. It's not a conspiracy, it's a real thing. The ballistic missile threat that was sent to Hawaii's cell phone saying, "Seek shelter, this is not a drill," that was later deemed a mistake, was a real missile that was intercepted before impact. I could see this being real, but is there anything to back up the claim? Yeah, I feel like, though plausible, that this would be super obvious, especially if it was from another country. I mean, you could also look at it if it is real. Our counter-missile system is working. That William Shakespeare never wrote any of the works that have been attributed to him. I don't think I believe the theory 100%, but the lack of evidence to support him as a writer is amusing. William Shakespeare was born, lived, and died in a small town that consisted of not much more than sheep farmers. His father made sheepskin gloves, certainly not the life that would have contributed to the knowledge of the many royal topics of Shakespeare's works. Surely the true author of Shakespeare's works would have had the means to travel and learn of all the worldly topics that his works were based on. We do know that he did own the Globe Theatre, and that he did work there as an actor. There is no record of his attendance at any schools. He was raised in an illiterate household. Both of his parents signed all legal documents with a mark, a sign of illiteracy. There are 6 surviving signatures of Shakespeare. All of them look as if a 4-year-old wrote them. They were almost assuredly written by an illiterate person. All of the signatures were found on documents such as mortgage contracts and his will. There are no surviving original written literary works written by Shakespeare. There are no surviving personal letters written by him. Surely a letter written from Shakespeare would be coveted as a prized possession, surely destined to survive to the present day. Mozart's handwritten letters professing his desire to poop on his cousin's face have survived to this present day, but not a single letter written by William Shakespeare. The only surviving written documents written in his hand were his will and a few other small pieces. All pieces of his writing that have been found were all written in secretary hand, a very basic form of writing typically used by poorly educated people. There are no surviving official documents that recall him as being a writer in any way. All official documents state that he was a businessman and a real estate owner. Shakespeare's will made no mention of any assets related to writing books or anything of that nature. All these facts paint a picture of a scenario where someone paid William Shakespeare to use him as a pseudonym for their own writings, and perhaps use his position as the owner of a theater as their own personal venue. The best theory about the true authorship was Edward de Vere, 7th Earl of Oxford. He was well known to be a gifted poet and a playwright. He was also known to sponsor companies of actors, and he was a patron of some of the most well-known theaters. Oxford would not have been at liberty to write about the topics found in Shakespeare's works. The only compelling evidence that I've heard from Shakespeare's supporters are anecdotes written years after his death by people who knew Shakespeare and referring to him as a writer. I don't find this compelling at all. If Shakespeare made an arrangement to act as the author of someone else's works, surely such an arrangement would require Shakespeare to lie to everyone. I'm certain that all his friends thought he was a writer. The rich orchestrated the recession back in 2008 to take advantage of the market. I mean, it was deregulated so the hedge funds could give out mortgages or something, if I recall correctly. I completely agree with this sentiment. I work as a realtor, and what they, lawmaking regulators, have done to the market after the recession has deep, sinister reasons. You used to be able to take out a mortgage on a $50,000 to $100,000 property without any issue. A lot of people today can only afford a mortgage that high anyways. But regulators came in and made a rule in which lenders cannot make loans in which the closing costs exceed 1% of the total loan. This effectively has created a cash-only market below $100,000. Guess who benefits from this? The rich that can go out and afford to buy condos up, left, right, with an artificially lowered demand on the market. Guess who this hurts? Pretty much anybody who could have purchased a small home for themselves to build equity and now have to rent from some landlord. It's effing nuts. Do you have any conspiracy theories you want to share? Leave it in the comments below and it might be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos from the library.